March 15th, 1944, 054, 7 hours, Bougainville Island, Solomon Islands. Private First Class Vernon Mitchell lay in mud that smelled like rot and cordite, 300 yards from Japanese defensive lines. He was 22 years old. He had been in combat for 6 weeks. His Springfield 1903 rifle was caked in jungle grime, but the barrel was clean. Always clean. Through his scope, Mitchell watched a Japanese lieutenant inspect a machine gun position. The officer wore a clean uniform, polished boots. His sword caught the early light. He moved between bunkers with the confidence of a man who believed 800 yards was safety. Standard Marine sniper doctrine was clear. Shoot the machine gunner. Shoot the radio operator. Shoot anyone manning crew-served weapons. High-value targets of opportunity. That was what the manual said. That was what Mitchell's instructors at Camp Pendleton had drilled into him for 8 weeks. Mitchell ignored it. He tracked the officer through his scope, watched him pause at the machine gun nest, watched him point at something, probably giving instructions, watched him pull out a cigarette, light it, stand in the same clearing he had stood in yesterday morning, and the morning before that, 90 seconds. The lieutenant stood there for 90 seconds, smoking, completely exposed. Mitchell's finger rested on the trigger. The range was long, maybe 840 yards, but he had made shots like that on coyotes back home. Wind was calm, visibility good. He could take the shot. He did not. Instead, he marked the time in the notebook he kept in his breast pocket. 0547 hours, same location, third consecutive morning. He sketched the clearing, noted the angle of the light, estimated the distance. His spotter, Corporal Eddie Chen, whispered from beside him, "You got a shot, Mitch. Clean line. Take it." Mitchell lowered his rifle. "Not yet. He's right there. I know where he is." Mitchell closed his notebook. "Now I know when he'll be there tomorrow." Chen looked at him like he was crazy. Maybe he was. But Mitchell had learned something hunting coyotes in Montana that the Marine Corps hadn't taught him. Sometimes the most important thing wasn't pulling the trigger. It was knowing when to wait. Bougainville Island was a 125-mile-long strip of jungle, mountains, and swamp in the Solomon Islands. In March 1944, approximately 14,000 Japanese troops defended the southern perimeter against advancing United States Marine divisions. The Japanese had spent months fortifying their positions. Bunkers made from coconut logs and coral, trenches that zigzagged through the jungle, interlocking fields of fire that turned every approach into a killing ground. The Marines were pushing inland, slowly, expensively. Marine Scout snipers were supposed to provide an advantage. Since January 1944, they'd been deployed across the line, targeting Japanese soldiers from concealed positions. The doctrine was simple. Eliminate high-value targets of opportunity, machine gunners, mortar crews, radio operators, anyone who posed an immediate tactical threat. The numbers looked good on paper. Marine snipers on Bougainville averaged 2.3 confirmed kills per week. Between January and March 1944, they scored 217 documented kills. Battalion commanders praised the program. Intelligence officers cited sniper operations in their briefings, but nothing changed. The Japanese kept attacking at the same frequency. Their patrols ran on schedule. Their defensive positions remained coordinated and effective. Bunkers that lost a machine gunner had a replacement within 20 minutes. Radio operators who got killed were swapped out before the next fire mission. The Japanese had adapted to sniper operations by building redundancy into every tactical position. Kill one machine gunner, another takes his place. Kill one radio operator, someone else picks up the handset. The faces changed, but the fight continued exactly as before. The problem was simple. American snipers were killing soldiers but not winning battles. They were removing individual pieces from the board without disrupting the game. The Japanese command structure remained intact. Orders still flowed from officers to NCOs to enlisted men. Defensive operations continued without interruption. Lieutenant Colonel Martin Shaw, commanding the 3rd Battalion, 21st Marines, understood the problem even if he couldn't articulate it. In a March briefing, he told his company commanders, "Our snipers are doing their jobs, but the Japs keep coming. Same coordination, same tactics. We need something more than individual kills. We need disruption." Nobody had an answer. Doctrine was doctrine. You shot the targets you could see, eliminated the threats you could identify, and hoped cumulative casualties would eventually matter. Shaw didn't know it, but 300 yards from his battalion CP, a farm kid from Montana was about to prove that doctrine wrong. Vernon Mitchell grew up in Cascade County, Montana, on 2,400 acres of wheat fields and cattle range. His father, Robert Mitchell, ran the farm the way his father had, efficiently, brutally, with no tolerance for waste or sentiment. The land was hard, the winters were harder. You learned to work or you didn't survive. Vernon learned to shoot at age 12. His father handed him a Springfield 1903 rifle, the same model the Army had used in World War I, and a box of cartridges. "Coyotes are killing calves," his father said. "Make yourself useful." The coyotes were smart. They didn't appear in daylight. They avoided obvious threats. They changed their patterns if you pressured them. Vernon spent the first 3 months missing every shot he took. His father didn't criticize, just said, "You're hunting them wrong. How should I hunt them? Stop chasing. Start watching." Vernon learned. He stopped, trying to spot coyotes, and started looking for patterns. Where they traveled, when they appeared, what made them comfortable. He realized coyotes weren't random. They followed routines. They had favorite paths, preferred hunting times, specific behaviors. More importantly, they had hierarchy. Every pack had an alpha, the dominant male that led the others. Kill a subordinate coyote and the pack adjusted. Kill the alpha and the pack fell apart. Between 1,936 and 1,941, Vernon Mitchell killed 127 coyotes, not by shooting at movement, not by taking every opportunity, by understanding behavior, by learning patterns, by identifying which animal mattered most and waiting for the perfect moment to take it. His father noticed. "You think like a hunter now, not like a shooter." Vernon didn't fully understand the difference. Not until he was lying in mud on Bougainville, watching Japanese officers through a rifle scope. The 8th of December, 1941, 4 days after Pearl Harbor, Vernon Mitchell enlisted in Prébrement, the Marine Corps. He was 19 years old. He'd never been outside Montana. At boot camp in San Diego, he scored expert marksman, the highest qualification, without breaking a sweat. Instructors assumed he'd trained extensively. He told them, "I shot coyotes." In June 1943, the Marine Corps sent him to Scout Sniper School at Camp Pendleton. 8 weeks of intensive training, range estimation, windage calculation, camouflage techniques, stalking procedures. Mitchell absorbed it all. But his instructors noticed something unusual. One wrote in his evaluation, "Unusually patient. Prefers observation over engagement. Excellent marksman, but sometimes refuses shots other students would take." Mitchell graduated second in his class. In February 1944, he deployed to Bougainville with the 21st Marines. He'd been in combat 6 weeks, 3 confirmed kills, all by the book, all according to doctrine, all useless. Mitchell's first combat assignment followed standard procedure. He was paired with a spotter, Corporal Eddie Chen, a 4-year-old from San Francisco who'd already done a combat tour on Guadalcanal. Chen knew the job. He was good at it. He expected Mitchell to be good at it too. Orders were clear. Eliminate targets of opportunity. Focus on crew-served weapons. Disrupt Japanese operations however possible. The 8th of March, 1944. Mitchell's first kill. A Japanese machine gunner at 340 yards. The man was repositioning his weapon, exposed for maybe 8 seconds. Mitchell took the shot. Clean hit. The machine gunner dropped. 20 minutes later, another Japanese soldier was manning the same gun. March 9. Second kill. Japanese radio operator at 280 yards. The man was standing outside a bunker, probably receiving transmission instructions. Mitchell shot him through the chest. 30 minutes later, someone else was operating the radio. March 10. Third kill. Mortar crewman at 410 yards. The man was loading rounds into the tube. Mitchell hit him during the loading sequence. The mortar fired its next round 6 minutes later. That evening, Chen and Mitchell sat in their fighting hole, eating cold rations. Chen said, "You're good, Mitch. Clean shots." Textbook. Mitchell didn't respond. Something wrong? Nothing changes. Mitchell stared at the Japanese lines. We kill them. They replace them. Everything keeps running. That's the job. We're not winning the war by ourselves. Then what are we doing? Chen didn't have an answer. For the next 3 days, Mitchell barely shot. He and Chen maintained their position, observing Japanese defensive lines through binoculars and rifle scopes. Chen thought maybe Mitchell was spooked. Combat fatigue. It happened. But Mitchell wasn't scared. He was thinking. He watched the same bunkers, the same trenches, the same defensive positions, and he noticed something. The soldiers changed constantly. Shifts rotated every few hours. Faces appeared and disappeared, but the officers stayed consistent. The same Japanese lieutenant inspected positions every morning. The same captain conducted briefings at 0730. The same senior NCO supervised evening stand-to. The enlisted men were interchangeable. The leaders weren't. On March 14, Mitchell told Chen, "We're shooting coyotes wrong." What? Back home, when coyotes raided the herd, you didn't shoot the first one you saw. You watched the pack. Found the alpha. Kill the alpha. The pack falls apart. Chen stared at him. You comparing Japs to coyotes? I'm saying we're killing the pack, but the alphas keep them organized. Mitchell pointed toward the Japanese lines. I need to find the alphas. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Doctrine says, I know what doctrine says. Mitchell opened his notebook, showed Chen the sketches and times he'd been recording. Tomorrow morning, 0547 hours, that lieutenant will be in that clearing. Same as yesterday, same as the day before. You sure? Coyotes follow patterns, so do officers. And then what? Mitchell closed the notebook. Then I stop shooting soldiers and start hunting leaders. The 11th of March 1944. Mitchell stopped shooting. For 3 consecutive days, he and Chen occupied their hide site and observed. They didn't engage targets, didn't take shots of opportunity, just watched. Battalion intelligence wondered if their position had been compromised. Company command asked Chen over radio if there was a problem. Chen told them, Negative. We're conducting reconnaissance. It wasn't entirely a lie. Mitchell was conducting reconnaissance, but not the kind the Marine Corps taught. He wasn't mapping bunkers or counting troops. He was studying behavior, looking for patterns, identifying which men mattered. He watched officers. Japanese officers were easy to distinguish at distance. Better uniforms tailored, clean, made from superior fabric. They wore their rank openly. Stars, stripes, cherry blossoms embroidered on collars. They carried swords, map cases, binoculars that caught the light, and they moved differently than enlisted men, with authority. Soldiers stepped aside when they approached, saluted, deferred. More importantly, officers followed routines. Between 0600 and 0630 hours each morning, officers inspected defensive positions. They walked between bunkers, checked fields of fire, spoke with squad leaders. They did this in daylight, apparently believing 800 yards was sufficient safety from American snipers. They were probably right. Most Marine snipers focused on targets inside 400 yards. At 0730 hours, Officers conducted briefings, usually in covered areas, but sometimes maps were visible. Sometimes officers stood in clearings, pointing at terrain features, explaining the day's defensive plan. Noon to 1,230 hours. Meal distribution. Officers ate separately from enlisted men. They gathered in small groups, usually near command bunkers. They relaxed, smoked cigarettes, talked. Late afternoon, 1,600 to 1,630 hours. Evening inspections. Similar to morning, routines. Officers made their rounds, ensured positions were prepared for night defensive operations. Mitchell documented everything. He borrowed a notebook from Battalion Supply Standard Issue, green canvas cover, and filled it with sketches, times, descriptions. He catalogued 17 officers in his sector by physical characteristics and behavior patterns. Page 3. Entry dated March 12. Tall officer, thin build, carries leather map case, walks with slight limp, old injury. Inspects MG positions 0615 daily. Smokes during inspection. Favors clearing near coordinates 347 to 892. Page 7. Entry. Dated March 13. Short officer, stocky, sword with red tassel. Conducts briefings 0745. Always in same location. Gestures emphatically when speaking. Subordinates stand at attention. Page 11. Entry dated March 14. Senior officer, captain or major. Grey hair, walks slowly, inspects positions 1,615, speaks to every soldier individually, stays exposed 2 to 3 minutes per position. Chen watched Mitchell System. Fill the notebook. You're writing a book about them. Learning them. These aren't coyotes. Mitch. Behavior's behavior. Mitchell didn't look up from his sketching. Doesn't matter if it's animals or men. Everyone follows patterns. And what happens when you find the pattern? Mitchell closed the notebook. Then I break it. The 15th of March 1944, 0530 hours. Mitchell and Chen moved into position before dawn. The jungle was dark, humid, alive with insects. They crawled the last 50 yards to their hide site, a depression in the ground, covered with vegetation, offering clear line of sight to Japanese positions 840 yards distant. Mitchell had been watching the tall lieutenant for 4 consecutive mornings. Same routine every day. The officer arrived at the clearing at 0547 hours. Inspected the machine gun position. Spoke with the crew. Lit a cigarette. Stood there smoking for 60 to 90 seconds. This morning would be the same. Mitchell was certain. Chen set up the spotting scope. You, really doing this? You got a better idea? Yeah. Follow doctrine. Shoot the machine gunner. And he gets replaced in 20 minutes. Mitchell checked his rifle. The Springfield was loaded, chamber clear, safety on. That lieutenant's been here every morning for a week. Kill him, maybe things change. Or maybe they just send another lieutenant. Maybe. Mitchell settled into shooting position. But it takes time to replace an officer. New guy doesn't know the positions, doesn't know the men. There's disruption. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then he said, back home, Montana, when you killed the alpha coyote. What happened to the pack? Fell apart. Subordinates fought each other. Pack split up. Stopped raiding our herd. Every time? Not every time. But most times. Mitchell looked at Chen. Eddie, doctrine isn't working. We both know it. I'm trying something different. Chen looked through the spotting scope toward Japanese lines. The sun was starting to rise, light filtering through the jungle canopy. All right, I'll spot for you. But if this gets us court-martialed, I'm blaming you. Fair enough. They waited. 0547 hours. The lieutenant appeared exactly on schedule. He walked from a command bunker toward the machine gun position. Same route he'd taken every morning. He wore his sword. His uniform was pressed. His boots shined even in jungle mud. Chen tracked him through the spotting scope. Range 840 yards. Wind maybe 8 miles per hour. Crosswind from the east. Temperatures rising, airs getting unstable. Mitchell made mental calculations. At 840 yards, the bullet would drop approximately 12 feet. The crosswind would push it maybe 8 inches right. He adjusted his scope accordingly, elevated the muzzle slightly to compensate for drop, held left to counter wind drift. The lieutenant reached the machine gun position, spoke with the crew, pulled out a cigarette, lit it, stepped into the clearing, the same clearing he'd stood in every morning. Mitchell controlled his breathing. Slow inhale, slow exhale. He'd done this 1,000 times on Montana wheat fields, shooting coyotes at 600, 700, 800 yards. This was the same, just different stakes. The lieutenant stood still, smoking, relaxed. Mitchell exhaled halfway, held his breath, put the crosshairs center mass on the officer's chest. His finger moved to the trigger, steady pressure, smooth squeeze. The Springfield cracked, the recoil pushed back against Mitchell's shoulder. Through the scope, he watched the bullet travel. At 840 yards, flight time was approximately 1.2 seconds. Mitchell counted. 1 Mississippi, 2 Miss the lieutenant dropped. Not dramatically, not like in the movies. He just collapsed. One moment standing, the next moment on the ground. The cigarette fell from his hand. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The machine gun crew stared at their fallen officer. They looked confused. One soldier knelt beside him, checked for pulse, started yelling. Within 30 seconds, Japanese soldiers were running toward the clearing. A medic arrived, bent over the lieutenant, shook his head. Chen whispered, "Clean hit. Center mass. He's dead." Mitchell was already chambering another round. Habit. Always reload immediately. But he didn't take another shot. He watched the chaos below, watched Japanese soldiers react to the death of their officer. 10 minutes later, a new lieutenant arrived. Younger. Nervous. He didn't inspect the machine gun position. Didn't stand in the clearing. He stayed in covered areas, spoke to the soldiers from inside the bunker entrance. Chen lowered the spotting scope. "You see that?" "I see it." New guy's scared. He should be. Mitchell marked the kill in his notebook. March 15, 0547 hours. Japanese lieutenant. Range 840 yards. 1 shot. Confirmed kill. Let's see if things change. They did. Over the next 6 hours, Mitchell and Chen observed Japanese positions. Morning inspections ran 40 minutes late. Briefings were conducted inside, bunkers instead of clearings. Officers moved quickly between positions, staying in cover. The entire routine had shifted. That evening, back at Company CP, Chen reported the kill to their platoon commander, Lieutenant Donald Park. Park looked at the notebook Mitchell had been keeping. "You're documenting officer movements?" "Yes, sir." "That's not standard procedure." "No, sir." Park flipped through the pages. Sketches. Times. Descriptions. "You planning to target more officers?" Mitchell hesitated. Then, "Yes, sir. If I get the chance." Park closed the notebook, handed it back. "Doctrine says focus on immediate threats." "Yes, sir. But doctrine also says use initiative." Park looked at Mitchell for a long moment. "I'll be watching your results, Private. Make them count." "Yes, sir." Mitchell left the CP with his notebook. Chen walked beside him. "What just happened?" "I think," Mitchell said slowly, "he just gave us permission to keep hunting." The 16th of March, 1944, 0545 hours. Mitchell and Chen were in position before dawn. Different hide site, same sector. Mitchell had learned from his father, never hunt from the same spot twice. Predators remember, so do prey. Today's target was a Japanese captain. Mitchell had been watching him for 5 days. The captain conducted morning briefings at 0732 hours. Always in the same location, a partially covered area behind the main defensive line. The captain would spread a map on a makeshift table constructed from ammunition crates. He'd gather 4 or 5 subordinates around him, point at terrain features, issue orders for the day. The briefing lasted between 6 and 8 minutes, but there was a vulnerability window. For approximately 45 seconds, while the captain oriented the map and positioned himself, he stood completely still, exposed, focused on the map instead of his surroundings. Range: 780 yards. Chen glassed the area through his spotting scope. You really think killing officers is going to matter? Yesterday's lieutenant didn't get replaced until 1400 hours. 7-hour gap. No officer oversight for 7 hours. You can't know that. I watched. Nobody inspected those positions all morning. Machine gun crew looked confused. No direction. Mitchell checked his rifle. 7 hours of confusion because one lieutenant died. What happens if we kill a captain? Guess we're about to find out. 0732 hours. The captain appeared on schedule. He carried a map case. 2 junior officers followed him. They walked to the briefing area. The captain unfolded his map, spread it on the ammunition crate table, positioned himself at the head of the table. Chen called the data. Range 780. Wind 6 miles per hour, left to right, steady. Temperature stable. Mitchell adjusted his scope. At 780 yards, bullet drop was approximately 10 feet, wind drift maybe 6 inches. He compensated. The captain was focused on his map, not moving. Perfect target. Mitchell's breathing slowed. Exhale. Hold. Crosshairs steady on the load, captain's upper torso. Finger on trigger, smooth pressure. The Springfield fired. Flight time. 1.1 seconds. The captain's head snapped back. He collapsed onto the map table. The table broke under his weight. The captain and the map fell to the ground together. The junior officers froze. One of them started screaming. Soldiers ran from nearby positions. Within seconds, chaos. Mitchell reloaded, tracked the junior officers through his scope. Both were exposed. Easy shots. But he didn't take them. One dead captain was enough. Let the others live. Let them be scared. Let them report what happened. Chen was grinning. Holy shit, Mitch. You dropped him cold. Mark it. Captain. Morning briefing. 0732 hours. They observed for another 3 hours. No briefing was conducted for the rest of the morning. Japanese soldiers in that sector appeared disorganized. Patrols departed late. Defensive positions weren't rotated on schedule. By 1100 hours, no replacement officer had appeared. March 17, 1944, 1215 hours, midday heat. The jungle steamed. Mitchell had shifted targets, watching a different section of Japanese lines, different officer. This one was a first lieutenant. Mitchell had catalogued him on March 12. The lieutenant supervised meal distribution every day at noon. He stood in a clearing near the field kitchen, watched soldiers line up for rice and dried fish, made sure distribution was orderly. Routine, predictable, fatal. Range: 695 yards. The lieutenant appeared at 1,212 hours, 3 minutes early today. He positioned himself at the edge of the clearing, arms crossed, watching the meal line form. Soldiers moved around him. None looked concerned about snipers. American snipers didn't operate at 700 yards in the middle of the day. Everyone knew that. Everyone was wrong. Mitchell waited. The soldiers would clear from the line of fire in approximately 30 seconds. He needed a clean shot, no risk of hitting an enlisted man. He was hunting officers, not soldiers. The meal line shifted. The lieutenant stood alone for a moment. Clear background. No obstacles. Chen. Wind's dead calm. 695 yards. He's not moving. Mitchell fired. The lieutenant went down. Soldiers scattered. The meal distribution fell apart. Rice containers overturned. Men ran for cover. Mitchell and Chen relocated immediately. Never stay in position after a shot. They moved 200 yards west, established a new hide site, watched. Japanese reaction was faster this time. Within 15 minutes, soldiers were searching the jungle, looking for the sniper. They were searching the wrong area, Mitchell's old position, not his new one. But they were adapting, learning that their officers were being hunted. That evening, Chen said, "They're going to figure out it's you. They'll figure out it's a sniper targeting officers. They won't know which sniper. Does that matter? Means they can't stop it by killing me. They have to change their entire behavior." Mitchell cleaned his rifle. That's the point. March 18 to 21. 4 more officers in 4 days. Kill #4. March 18, 06:05 hours. Japanese second lieutenant conducting dawn inspection. Range 715 yards. Officer walked between bunkers, checking readiness. Stopped to light a cigarette in an exposed position. Mitchell shot him during the pause. Single round. Confirmed kill. Kill #5. The 19th of March, 16:25 hours. Japanese captain supervising defensive improvements. Range 825 yards. Longest shot Mitchell had attempted in combat. The captain stood on elevated ground, pointing at a bunker under construction, exposed for nearly 2 minutes. Mitchell adjusted for distance and a slight upward angle. The bullet struck the captain in the chest. He fell backward down the embankment. Kill #6. March 20, 07:48 hours. Japanese first lieutenant conducting briefing. Range 690 yards. Similar situation to the March 16 captain kill. Lieutenant gathered subordinates. Spread a map. Mitchell waited for the perfect stillness. Fired during a moment when the lieutenant was, pointing at the map with both hands. No defensive reaction possible. Officer died before he understood what happened. Kill #7. The 21st of March, 11:40 hours. Japanese senior lieutenant, probably acting company commander based on his behavior. Range 755 yards. This officer was cautious. Moved quickly between positions, stayed in cover, but he had to inspect his men. When he paused to speak with a squad leader, he stood still for approximately 8 seconds. Mitchell took the shot on second 6. Clean hit. 7 officers in 7 days. Chen kept count in his own notebook, not the official spotter log, a personal record. You know what this means? What? You've killed more officers in 1 week than most Marine snipers kill in an entire war. Mitchell didn't respond. He was watching Japanese positions through binoculars. Something had changed. Officers who'd previously moved openly now stayed hidden. Morning inspections were being conducted from inside bunkers. Briefings happened behind cover. The predictable patterns were disappearing. They're adapting, Mitchell said. That a problem? No. Means it's working. Mitchell lowered the binoculars. They're scared. When prey gets scared, they make mistakes. Or they get more dangerous. That too. The 22nd of March, 1944, 08:00 hours. Mitchell was summoned to company headquarters. Captain Robert Hayes wanted to see him. Lieutenant Park was there too. And Sergeant Major William Kruger, a thick-necked veteran with a Guadalcanal campaign ribbon and a Purple Heart. Hayes sat behind a field desk made from stacked ammunition crates. He looked tired. Everyone looked tired. Bougainville wasn't a campaign. It was attrition. Private Mitchell, Hayes said. I've been reading your spotter reports. Yes, sir. 7 kills in 7 days. All officers. All at ranges exceeding 650 yards. Hayes picked up Chen's official log. You're not following standard targeting doctrine. No, sir. Why? Mitchell thought about how to answer. Decided on the truth. Sir, standard doctrine isn't working. We're killing soldiers, but Japanese operations continue normally. I'm trying to disrupt their command structure. Lieutenant Park leaned forward. That's not your decision to make, Private. Intelligence determines targeting priorities. Yes, sir. But with respect, intelligence isn't watching them every day. I am, and I see their patterns. Patterns? Park's tone was skeptical. Officers follow routines, sir. They're predictable. If we eliminate them, we create command gaps, confusion, disruption. Hayes studied Mitchell. Where'd you learn this methodology? Montana, sir. Hunting coyotes. Silence. Then Sergeant Major Kruger laughed. It was a harsh sound. Coyotes. Jesus Christ. He looked at Hayes. Sir, permission to speak. Go ahead, Sergeant Major. Walked to the map on the wall. Pointed at Mitchell's sector. I've been watching the intelligence reports from this sector. Past 7 days, coordinated Japanese, attacks down 28%. Patrol frequency irregular, defensive positions showing poor timing on shift rotations. He turned to face Mitchell. That you're doing, Private? Can't say for certain, Sergeant Major. But yes, I think so. You think so? Or you know so? I know I killed 7 officers. I know their operations are disrupted. Can't prove direct causation. Kruger nodded. I was at Guadalcanal. Lost a lot of Marines there. You know why? Because Japanese officers kept their men organized. We'd kill 50 Japs, and they'd still come at us coordinated. Command structure stayed intact. He looked at Hayes. Sir, this kid is doing something we should have been doing since the start. Park objected. Sergeant Major, this creates unpredictable tactical situations. We don't know how they'll respond to officer casualties. They're responding with confusion, Kruger said flatly. That's a win. Hayes drummed his fingers on the desk. Long silence. Finally. Mitchell, you've got 2 more. Weeks. I want daily reports. Every kill documented with time, location, target description, and observed tactical impact. He paused. But understand this. If your methodology fails, if casualties in your sector increase, you go back to standard doctrine. Clear? Yes, sir. Dismissed. Outside the CP, Chen was waiting. Well? 2 more weeks. And then? Then we see if hunting alphas works better than shooting the pack. The 23rd of March, 1944, 0520 hours. Mitchell and Chen moved into a new position. 3rd hide site in 8 days. Mitchell rotated locations constantly now. The Japanese were searching for him. Not randomly, methodically. They'd sent patrols into areas where previous shots originated. Smart, adaptive, dangerous, but predictable. Mitchell stayed ahead by moving unpredictably. Never the same position twice, never the same shooting angle. He thought of it like hunting coyotes that had been shot at before. The smart ones learned, changed their patterns, but they still had to eat, still had to hunt, still had vulnerabilities. Japanese officers still had to command. Today's target was different. Not a lieutenant or captain. Mitchell had been tracking him for 6 days. A Japanese major. Artillery observer. He directed mortar and artillery fire from a concealed observation post approximately 825 yards behind the main defensive line. The OP was well hidden, camouflaged, surrounded by vegetation. Mitchell had only found it by watching where runners went. Message carriers would disappear into jungle, emerge from what looked like solid vegetation. That's how he'd located the position. The major appeared 3 times daily. 0630 hours, 1000, 230 hours, 1000, 800 hours, coordinating fire missions. He'd emerge from the OP bunker, observe the American lines through binoculars, issue corrections to his radioman. Killing him would matter. Chen set up the spotting scope. That's a long shot, Mitch. 825 yards. Through jungle. You sure about this? I'm sure he's directing every artillery mission that hits our positions. You know what happens if you miss? They'll know someone's targeting their command staff specifically. They'll lock down every officer. I'm not going to miss. 0628 hours. The major appeared on schedule. He climbed out of the OP bunker, stood on the edge of the position, raised his binoculars toward American lines. His radioman followed him out. Set up the radio. Extended the antenna. Range 825 yards. Wind 7 miles per hour. Quartering from the right. Humidity high. Air unstable from morning heat. Mitchell made his calculations. Bullet drop at this range was significant. Maybe 11 feet. Wind drift approximately 8 inches. The shot had to be perfect. The Major was partially concealed by vegetation, only his upper torso visible. Chen whispered, "He's not moving. Wind's steady. You've got maybe 10 seconds before he goes back inside." Mitchell settled into his shooting position, breathing controlled, heartbeat slow. Everything narrowed to the scope picture, the Major's silhouette, the crosshairs, the trigger, 5 seconds. Mitchell exhaled halfway, held, 3 seconds, crosshairs on target, slight adjustment for wind. 1 second. He fired. The Springfield's crack echoed through the jungle. The recoil punched Mitchell's shoulder. Through the scope, he watched the bullet's flight. At 825 yards, it took nearly 1.3 seconds. The Major's chest exploded. He fell backward into the OP bunker. The radio man dove for cover. For 30 seconds, nothing. Then chaos. Japanese soldiers ran toward the OP. Officers emerged from nearby bunkers. Someone was screaming orders. Chen tracked movement through the spotting scope. "You got him. Major's down. They're panicking." Mitchell reloaded, watched. He could take another shot. The radio man was exposed. Other officers were visible. But he didn't shoot. One Major was enough. Let them recover the body. Let them understand what happened. They observed the OP for the next 4 hours. No artillery. Fire was directed at American positions during that time. No fire missions executed. The radio sat silent. At 1,230 hours, when the Major would normally conduct his midday observation, nobody appeared. The OP remained closed. At 1,800 hours evening fire mission, time still nothing. Chen marked it in his log. "That's 12 hours without coordinated artillery. Because one Major died." "Not because he died," Mitchell said. "Because they don't have anyone to replace him. Takes time to train an artillery observer. Can't just promote somebody and hand them binoculars. How long you think before they get a replacement? Couple days. Maybe a week." Mitchell packed his gear. "Time to relocate. Either way, that's a week our guys aren't getting shelled." March 24 to 29. The systematic dismantling continued. Kill #9. March 24, 0755 hours. Japanese First Lieutenant, Supply Coordination Officer, range 680 yards. The lieutenant supervised ammunition distribution to forward positions. Mitchell had watched him for 3 days. Same routine, same location. The lieutenant stood at a supply dump, directing soldiers where to carry crates. He stayed in one spot for nearly 3 minutes. Mitchell shot him at minute 2. The lieutenant fell across an ammunition crate. Supply distribution stopped for the rest of the day. Kill #0, the 26th of March, 1615 hours. Japanese captain, defensive sector commander. Range 745 yards. This officer was cautious, moved quickly, stayed covered, but he had to inspect his positions. When he emerged from a bunker to check a damaged fighting position, he exposed himself for approximately 6 seconds. Mitchell took the shot on second 4. The captain collapsed. Within an hour, Mitchell observed confusion in that defensive sector, soldiers receiving conflicting orders, no clear command authority. Kill #1, March 28, 0640 hours. Japanese senior captain, possibly battalion executive officer based on his uniform and behavior. Range 910 yards. Mitchell's longest shot to date. The officer was visiting forward positions, probably assessing defensive readiness. He believed himself safe. 910 yards was extreme range, beyond what most snipers attempted. But Mitchell wasn't most snipers. The shot required perfect conditions, wind dead calm, Clear line of sight. The officer standing completely still. Mitchell waited 40 minutes for those conditions. When they aligned, he took the shot. Flight time, 1.4 seconds. The bullet struck the officer high in the chest. He went down. Didn't move again. Chen stared through the spotting scope. Jesus, Mitch. That's nearly 1,000 yards. 910. That's impossible. I just did it. Nobody makes shots like that. Mitchell ejected the spent casing. Chambered a fresh round. Coyotes don't know the difference between possible and impossible. They're either dead or they're not. By March 29, the tactical impact was undeniable. Division Intelligence issued a classified report. Lieutenant Park presented it at the daily briefing. Mitchell wasn't present, he was in the field, but Chen heard about it later from another Marine. The report cited Sector 7, Mitchell's sector. Coordinated Japanese attacks down 41% compared to February baseline. Patrol frequency reduced 34%. Defensive position rotations irregular and delayed. Radio intercepts indicated command confusion. One intercepted message, translated by Division Intelligence. Sector commanders report officer casualties critical. Request immediate replacements and revised defensive protocols. Another intercept, March 28. American sniper operations targeting command personnel. Morning inspection protocols suspended indefinitely. All briefings restricted to covered positions. A third intercept, March 29. 3 company-level officers killed this week. Battalion command structure degraded. Request relief. The division commander, Colonel James Richardson, read the reports, asked his intelligence officer, "What's causing this?" "We believe it's sniper activity, sir. Specifically targeting Japanese officers." "Which sniper?" "Private First Class Vernon Mitchell. 21st Marines. 7 confirmed officer kills in 2 weeks." Richardson was silent for a moment. Then, 7 officers in 2 weeks. And their entire sector is falling apart. "Yes, sir." "Get me his commanding officer. I want to understand this methodology." The 30th of March, 1944, 0600 hours. Mitchell was about to discover that success brought new problems. Japanese High Command had noticed the officer casualties. They'd analyzed the pattern, concluded that a sniper was specifically hunting their leadership, and they'd decided to hunt back. Counter-sniper teams were being deployed to Sector 7. Experienced Japanese snipers with one mission: find and kill the American sniper targeting officers. Mitchell didn't know this yet. He was in position, watching a Japanese first lieutenant conduct a morning inspection. Same target he'd been tracking for 3 days. The lieutenant followed a predictable pattern. Walked the same route between bunkers. Paused at the same positions. Today would be different. Mitchell was lining up his shot when Chen grabbed his arm. "Don't shoot." "What?" "Look. 300 yards left. In that tree." Mitchell shifted his scope. Scanned the tree line. Saw movement. A Japanese sniper. Camouflaged. Nearly invisible. But there. Watching the exact area where Mitchell and Chen were positioned. Chen whispered, "They're hunting us." Mitchell lowered his rifle slowly. "How long's he been there?" "Don't know. Just spotted him." They lay motionless. The Japanese sniper was scanning with binoculars. Searching. If Mitchell took his shot at the lieutenant, the muzzle flash and sound would reveal their position. The counter-sniper would have them. Mitchell made a decision. "We relocate. Now. Slow. Stay low." They backed out of their position, inch by inch. Took 20 minutes to crawl 50 yards into denser vegetation. Once concealed, they moved, another 200 yards before stopping. Chen was breathing hard. That was close. Too close. Mitchell checked his rifle. "They're adapting faster than I expected." "What now?" "Now it gets interesting." Mitchell looked back toward where the Japanese sniper had been positioned. "They're hunting me. I'm hunting their officers. Whoever's smarter survives. And if they're smarter..." Mitchell chambered around. Then I guess I'll find out if there's coyotes in hell. The 30th of March 1944, 1,400 hours, Battalion Headquarters. Captain Hayes sat across from Mitchell in a tent that smelled like mildew and cigarette smoke. Lieutenant Park stood beside a tactical map covered in grease pencil markings. Sergeant Major Kruger leaned against a support pole, arms crossed. Hayes didn't waste time. Intelligence confirms Japanese counter-sniper teams are operating in your sector. At least 3 teams. Maybe more. They're looking for you specifically. Mitchell nodded. Saw one this morning. In a tree. 300 yards from our position. You engage him? No, sir. Would have compromised our location. Park stepped forward. Mitchell, this changes the tactical situation. You're no longer hunting. You're being hunted. I'm recommending we pull you back. Rotate you to a different sector. That's what they want, Mitchell said. They want me to stop. They want to kill you, Park said flatly. And they will if you stay in that sector. Kruger spoke up. Sir, if I may, the Japanese are dedicating counter-sniper resources to find one Marine. That's a win. Those snipers aren't shooting our men. They're looking for Mitchell. That's not a sustainable tactical position. Sergeant Major, neither is letting their officers reorganize their command structure. Kruger looked at Hayes. Captain, Mitchell's methodology is working. Intelligence reports confirm it. We pull him now. The Japanese will breathe easy. Their officers will start moving openly again. We lose the advantage. Hayes rubbed his face. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Mitchell, can you operate under these conditions? Counter-snipers actively hunting you? Mitchell thought about Montana, about hunting coyotes that had learned to fear humans, the smart ones, the dangerous ones. Sir, back home, when you hunt coyotes long enough, they start hunting you back. That's when you know you're hurting them. When they get aggressive. This isn't Montana. These aren't coyotes. No, sir. But the principle's the same. They're scared. Scared prey makes mistakes. Hayes was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked at Park. Lieutenant, what's the current officer casualty rate in Mitchell's sector? Park consulted his notes. 11 confirmed kills in 2 weeks. All officers, ranging from second lieutenant to major. That's the highest officer casualty rate in any sector on Bougainville, possibly in the entire Pacific Theater. And the tactical impact? Coordinated attacks down 41%. Patrol schedules disrupted. Command confusion documented in multiple intercepted communications. Park paused. Sir, I still think it's too risky. Hayes made his decision. Mitchell, you continue operations. But new protocols. You relocate after every shot. No exceptions. You avoid patterns. You work with a new spotter. Chen's being rotated out for medical evaluation. Sir, Chen's fine. Just a scratch. Chen took shrapnel. He needs evaluation. You'll work with PFC Tommy Reeves. He's got 3 weeks combat experience. Not much, but he's smart. Mitchell didn't like it. Chen understood his methodology. Trusted his judgment. Breaking in a new spotter meant explaining everything from scratch. But orders were orders. Yes, sir. One more thing. Hayes leaned forward. You see a Japanese counter-sniper. You're authorized to engage. Kill the hunters before they kill you. Yes, sir. The 1st of April, 1944, 0530 hours. Mitchell met PFC Tommy Reeves in the pre-dawn darkness. Reeves was 19 years old. From Philadelphia. He looked nervous. You Mitchell? Reeves asked. Yeah. They say you kill officers. That true? That's the job. Chen said you're the best shooter he's ever seen. Said you make shots nobody else would try. Mitchell slung his rifle. Chen talks too much. Let's move. They infiltrated to a position 400 yards from the previous hide site. Different angle. Different sight lines. Mitchell never used the same position twice in a row. Predictability killed snipers. He'd been tracking a Japanese first lieutenant for 4 days. Supply coordination officer. The lieutenant supervised ammunition distribution every morning at 0730 hours. Same location, same routine. But today, Mitchell approached from the south instead of the east. Different perspective. If Japanese counter-snipers were watching his previous positions, they'd be looking the wrong direction. Reeves set up the spotting scope. His hands shook slightly. "You nervous?" Mitchell asked. "Yes." "Good. Nervous means careful. Careful keeps. You alive?" Chen said Japanese snipers are hunting you. "They're trying. Doesn't that scare you?" Mitchell checked his rifle. "Back home, I hunted predators that could kill me. Mountain lions. Bears, sometimes. Fear's just information. Tells you to be smart. This is different than mountain lions. Not really. Predators follow patterns. Learn the patterns, you survive. 0725 hours. The Japanese lieutenant appeared. But something was different. He moved quickly, didn't stand in his usual position, stayed close to cover. He directed the ammunition distribution from inside a bunker entrance, only his head and shoulders visible. Reeves whispered, "That's not much of a target." He's scared. They're all scared now. Mitchell tracked the lieutenant through his scope. Range, 745 yards, difficult shot. The target was partially concealed, moving unpredictably. Small exposure window. But Mitchell had shot coyotes in worse conditions, moving targets at 600 yards. In wind, in bad light. This was just another shot. He waited, patient. The lieutenant had to fully emerge eventually, had to inspect the ammunition supply, had to perform his duties. 2 minutes passed, 3 minutes. The lieutenant stayed concealed. Then a soldier dropped an ammunition crate. The crash echoed across the jungle. The lieutenant stepped out of the bunker entrance to investigate. Fully exposed. Approximately 8 seconds. Mitchell didn't hesitate. Exhale. Hold. Crosshairs on target. Squeeze. The Springfield cracked. The lieutenant went down. Immediately, gunfire erupted. Not from the Japanese supply position. From 200 yards to Mitchell's left, a Japanese counter-sniper had been waiting, watching for muzzle flash. Rounds tore through vegetation above Mitchell's head. Reeves yelped, pressed himself into the mud. Mitchell grabbed Reeves's collar. "Move! Now!" They crawled backward. Fast. More gunfire followed them. The Japanese sniper was shooting blind now. Suppressive fire. Trying to pin them down, while other snipers relocated for a better angle. Mitchell and Reeves crawled 30 yards, reached denser vegetation, got to their feet, ran low, put 150 yards between them and their shooting position before stopping. Reeves was breathing hard. "Jesus Christ! Jesus Christ! You hit?" "No. No, I don't think so." Reeves checked himself. They knew where we were. They guessed. Watched my previous positions. Calculated probable locations. Mitchell scanned the jungle, looking for movement. "They're learning. What do? We learn faster." They relocated another 300 yards, established a temporary position, watched their back trail, no pursuit. The Japanese counter-snipers didn't know exactly where they'd gone. Too much jungle, too many possible directions. After 30 minutes, Mitchell felt safe enough to talk. "You did good, Reeves. I didn't do anything. I just laid there. You stayed quiet, didn't panic. That's something." Mitchell cleaned mud off his rifle. "Next time will be easier." "Next time? They almost killed us. Almost doesn't count." Mitchell chambered a fresh round. "I got the lieutenant. That's what matters." "Is it worth it, getting shot at for 1 kill?" Mitchell thought about that. 1 lieutenant coordinates supply for maybe 200 soldiers. Without him, those soldiers don't get ammunition on schedule, don't get food, don't get orders. They stop being a coordinated unit. Start being 200 confused men. He looked at Reeves. "Yeah, it's worth it. April 2 to 5. 4 more officers. 4 more close calls. Kill Hashone 3. The 2nd of April 14:30 hours. Japanese captain, defensive sector commander. Range 720 yards. Mitchell took the shot from a position he'd never used before. Approached from an unexpected angle. The captain was conducting an afternoon inspection. Believed afternoon was safe. American snipers typically operated at dawn. Bad assumption. Mitchell shot him at 1,432 hours. Japanese counter-snipers returned fire within 15 seconds. Mitchell and Reeves had already relocated. Kill Hashone 4. April 3, 0615 hours. Japanese First Lieutenant, Communications Officer. Range 695 yards. This officer was paranoid, moved erratically. Never stayed exposed more than 3 seconds. Mitchell waited 45 minutes for the perfect shot. When it came the lieutenant pausing to light a cigarette, Mitchell took it. Clean hit. The lieutenant dropped. Counter-sniper fire came from 2 directions this time. Mitchell had anticipated, had planned their escape route before taking the shot. They extracted under fire. 0 casualties. Kill Hashone 5. April 4. 0800 hours. Japanese senior lieutenant, probably company executive officer. Range 780 yards. The Japanese were adapting. Officers now moved in pairs. Stayed in cover. Conducted business from bunkers. But this lieutenant made a mistake. Stepped outside to observe American positions through binoculars. 30 seconds of exposure. Mitchell took the shot at second 22. The lieutenant fell. His companion dragged him back inside. Too late. Kill Hashone 6. The 5th of April 1200 hours. Japanese captain, artillery coordination. Range 810 yards. This was the replacement for the Major Mitchell had killed on March 23. The new captain was cautious, but artillery observers had to observe, had to expose themselves to direct fire missions. The captain emerged from his OP bunker at noon. Mitchell had been watching the position for 2 days, knew the timing, knew the location. The shot was ready before the target appeared. The captain stood. Mitchell fired. The captain died before he could issue his first fire mission. 4 kills in 4 days, but the cost was escalating. Japanese counter-snipers were getting smarter, faster, more aggressive. On April 5, after killing the artillery captain, Mitchell and Reeves were pursued for nearly 3 hours. Multiple counter-sniper teams coordinating. Radio communications between them. They were hunting Mitchell systematically. Using tactics. Using intelligence. Mitchell and Reeves escaped by, moving through a creek. The water masked their trail, confused the Japanese snipers tracking. But it was close. Too close. That evening, back at Battalion CP, Reeves was shaking. They almost had us. They were 50 yards behind us, maybe less. Mitchell cleaned his rifle. Methodical. Thorough. But they didn't get us. Next time they might. Then we make sure there's no next time. Mitchell reassembled the Springfield. Checked the action. We're smarter than them. We have to be. How do you know we're smarter? Because I'm still alive, and 11 of their officers aren't. The 5th of April, 1900 hours. Captain Hayes called Mitchell to headquarters. Division Intelligence had compiled a report. Park presented the findings. Radio intercepts from the past 72 hours confirm significant Japanese command disruption in your sector. Park pointed at the tactical map. They're specifically mentioning officer casualties. 3 separate messages requesting replacement officers. 2 messages requesting counter-sniper reinforcements. Kruger stepped forward. They're bleeding officers faster than they can replace them. That's a strategic win. Hayes looked at Mitchell. Division commander wants to meet you. Colonel Richardson. He's flying in tomorrow. Wants to understand your methodology. Possibly implement it in other sectors. Mitchell frowned. Sir, this methodology isn't something you can teach. It requires, I know, patience, pattern recognition. Skills you learned hunting coyotes in Montana. Hayes almost smiled. Colonel Richardson knows that too. He's not asking you to train every sniper in the division. He just wants to understand if this can be replicated. Can it? Park asked. Be honest, Mitchell. Is this something other snipers can do? Mitchell considered the question. Some could. Not all. You need the right temperament. Most snipers want to shoot. I'm willing to watch. And that makes the difference? That makes all the difference. Mitchell stood. Sir, if the colonel wants to meet me, I'll be here. But I need to get back out there. Every day I'm in headquarters is a day Japanese officers move freely.